Manchester United secured the signing of Chido Obi from Arsenal last summer in a move that generated plenty of excitement. The highly rated teenager had an exceptional goal-scoring record at youth level and was considered one of the brightest prospects at the Emirates. But he chose to join United, largely due to the clearer pathway to first-team football. After scoring a hat-trick on his full debut for the under-18s, Obi only needed to wait 4 months until his first-team bow. His decision is starting to be justified. Now the big question is, what's next for him? Hello everybody and welcome back to United District, and today we are speaking about Chido Obi, the youngster who came in last year, and I think by all accounts he's had a really good debut campaign at Old Trafford. He broke into the under-21s first after kind of blowing away the under-18s, which I think everyone expected, and then he impressed. He got the opportunity partly because of circumstance, but he impressed. He didn't get much game time. He actually made 8 appearances for the first team, but they were all quite short cameos apart from that one start he got towards the end of the season. But we got to see a little bit, and he had a good impression on a lot of people. Perhaps that was due to the struggles United were having up front, and we'll get onto that as well. But I think a lot of people were impressed. And now it's time to think about what's in store for Chido next season. So let's get right into it. I think first off as well, we should note about his performances during that postseason tour where he didn't really do too much in the first game, but then bagged his first 2 goals for the first team. Of course, they were in a friendly, but it was a good feeling for him. They were both really well taken goals. And he got a little bit of praise from Amorim afterwards. Amorim, I think, has tried to not praise Obi too much because, of course, I think out of almost any 16-year-old in football, barring Lamine Yamal, there was so much expectation placed on him when he arrived at United, partly because there was false rumours about him being on 40 grand a week or whatever, just because, of course, that's how things go when a player goes to Manchester United. So I think everyone involved has been trying to keep expectations a little bit down with Chido. And of course, Ruben Amorim said it's a good feeling, but he needs to continue to train really hard because the Premier League is a different world and we have to improve as a team as well. I think that's a fair comment because Chido has not scored in any of his cameos. He's looked bright, but I think you can definitely tell that he will need to improve a bit more if he is going to be part of United's team. But I think if we are going to go by reports in the last few weeks, there's not too many on Chido, but this is the main one. So obviously this is from the postseason tour where Chido spoke to United's media after the game, and Stephen Ralston of the Manchester Evening News noted in his article that United are not expected to send Obi on loan this summer, which I think a lot of people would have expected that. It is easy to forget that he is still only 17 years of age, and going out on loan to the Championship or potentially abroad is a really big step, especially after he only recently joined United over the past year. While those at United and the player himself probably think that he could deal with the Championship if he went out on loan next season, it is probably best course of action for him to do what he's been doing. Get some minutes off the bench here and there, play with the under-21s, train with the first team, and get that extra experience with the group. I think there's certain players who you do that for, and then certain other players definitely need minutes. And potentially that could be Obi in the future, but it looks like he will be sticking at Old Trafford next season. Now, of course, probably the biggest question mark around that is that we've got these 2 guys, Højlund and Xerxes, both strikers at United, and they will be joined by, fingers crossed, a more experienced goal scorer this summer. So then that makes it 3 strikers, and of course there's mainly rumours about Højlund's future being in doubt, and potentially he could leave. But if there's a situation where you've got Højlund, Xerxes and a new striker, of course we all know that Xerxes can drop a little bit deeper and be one of the 10s, but that would limit Chido's chances next year quite significantly, you'd imagine, especially if this striker we bring in is of the top level, which is what everyone wants. So that's an interesting point. And obviously there's no pressure on him. He's 17 years old. He doesn't really need to get too many minutes in the first team. If anything, some people might argue that he was getting minutes before he was ready last year. So potentially this is a good move to see a new striker coming in, Chido staying behind the scenes. He doesn't have to play too many minutes. He's getting his football with the under-21s, which still, he didn't really play that much football with the under-21s last year. If you remember correctly, he started the season with the under-18s, moved to the under-21s and started getting some minutes and started playing well at that level, because he didn't really play there for Arsenal during the season before last either. So it was his first taste of that level. But it was in February that Amorim needed to call on Obi and other youngsters to be in the first team squad in most games. So he didn't actually get that much time with the under-21. So next season, I imagine that he's going to get that time. He's still probably going to be in and around the first team in certain matches, cup games, potentially. Obviously, United will go through an injury crisis, which we do every single year. And he'll be around the building. So I think it is the right move to keep him. And in terms of when he does get those opportunities, of course, at the beginning, I mentioned that I think a lot of people liked what they saw from Obi in his cameos, myself included. But I'm still not sure. And I think this might be something that a lot of you guys thought of. Let me know in the comments below. But I'm not sure if I was happy with what he was doing because he was doing well. And of course, he's 17 years old. You've got low expectations for what they'll do in a Premier League game. And I think he impressed me personally. But I don't know if that was because of what I've been seeing, mainly from the guy on the left there, Rasmus Højlund. He was, towards the end of the season, really stinking it up. So seeing Obi do certain things, simple things, looked really promising. In terms of those positive aspects which I saw from Obi, I do want to touch on this one example, just because I think it's quite surprising to see in his game. So first of all, we saw Obi come in and he was a unit for 16 years of age, of course 17 now, but he was a unit for his age. And you sometimes think, when players are that big at such a young age, you think, do they really know how to use their body? Because it doesn't matter for him. At youth level, it didn't matter, especially in the under-18s where he could breeze past players and it didn't matter. But sometimes that can impact fundamentals, how to hold the ball up against an actual centre-back. So that was actually one of my worries about Obi, but I think this example proves it perfectly. So you see the ball coming in from midfield into the striker's feet, and you can see Obi moving towards the ball over here. And yeah, you've got a situation where most of the time that wouldn't lead to much, the ball going into the striker's feet there, because maybe Joshua Zirkzee, to be fair, can deal with the ball in those situations, but most of the time it was Højlund. His confidence was on the floor, and United couldn't play that ball into feet too often. We see the ball come into Obi here. You see Mason Mount make the run off of him, and you can see Obi here. And I saw a lot of people enjoy Carl Anker's analysis of how Brian Mbeumo uses his backside to keep the ball. Now, of course, this is slightly different because Chido is not in possession of the ball, but look at the way that he is dealing with the centre-back there. He looks like someone who knows how to deal with a centre-back. And then you see the next slide, and it's nothing crazy. He's got his body in a good position to hold the ball up, do a little flick, and then somehow United are in this position where I don't remember exactly what happened here. I think Garnacho might have taken it wide and tried to cross. But that is a situation you want your team to get into. And if we just go back to this slide, that's what it looked like at the beginning. And a striker who can hold the ball up can offer you that in certain situations. And United didn't really get it too much last season. And I'm not saying Chido can do that all of the time. And it's going to be inconsistent against Premier League strikers. But across those 7 or 8 appearances we saw last season, one of the most consistent aspects of his game did look like his ability to deal with contact from experienced Premier League defenders, which I was surprised about because, like I mentioned just beforehand, that size when you're that young doesn't necessarily mean you will have that in your locker. If anything, it might actually hinder you. So that was a nice surprise. Yeah, let me know your thoughts on Chido in the comments below. Do you think it's a good idea for him to remain at Old Trafford next season? I'm looking forward to watching him next season. I know I've spoken about it before, but we should be able to watch more under-21s games as well. So even if he's not in the first team, we'll still be able to keep a closer eye on his development, which is good to see. If you did enjoy this video, I'd really appreciate it if you did consider subscribing and liking the video. And with all that said, I'll see you in the next one.